I'd like to welcome you back. The cat will disappear. Abra. And the cat has disappeared. We'd like to welcome you back. It is Monday morning, January the 2nd, 2023. And it's another new guitar today. And what makes this unusual, this will be the most inexpensive brand new guitar that I've ever purchased. And it is an IYV. I don't know the model number. It'll be in the description of the video. But it is their Thinline Telecaster style model with the spalted maple veneer top, which makes this sort of a crapshoot because some of the ones I've seen have just been way too busy for me. Others are very subtle, very nice. So we're going to open it up and see, and you'll join me for the discovery phase. One thing I would like to note is that this box appears to have absolutely no damage whatsoever. So if there is any issues with the guitar, I'm going to assume that it came from the shipper that way, because again, there is no visible damage on the box, which is nice considering that it traveled all the way from Kansas City. And based on my experience, FedEx is pretty gentle with this stuff, but they're dealing with lots and lots and lots of packages. So I can't imagine that they can give any extra attention to guitars. And here it is. The weather was fairly mild today by Montana standards. However, I let this acclimate for a good 2 hours to just make friends with its new environment. And I will say this about IYV, their bags are a step up from Squire. Oh, that actually looks pretty interesting. I think just based on what I'm seeing, I can live with this. It's not quite as subtle as I hoped for, but behold. And it's nice because they do a book matching on it, so you get the same exact. Front ends feel pretty good. Back of the guitar. Interesting choice of woods. This wasn't punched in. Take a quick look at the couple rough spots on the binding. Probably take care of that in 2 seconds. The outward binding looks pretty darn nice. The neck pocket, a little bit of smuts there, but it looks like it fits pretty well. No cracks. Back of the neck feels good. So there it is. Behold. I think if it plays okay, then we've got a winner. So I'm going to go tune it up, stretch it out, take it for a test drive, and we'll be back in a little while and tell you what we think. And welcome back. It is still January the 2nd, 2023. It's about 10 minutes after 5 in the evening. And the guitar that we're looking at here is the IYV ITF-300 Telecaster Humbucker. And these are currently available on eBay for $112.99, and as of today, the person selling them is running an additional 20% off, which is how I got this for $90.25 or something. So here's the preliminary review on this guitar. I had a chance to play it. One of the things I judge guitars by, which probably isn't very fair, but how playable is it straight out of the box? Stretch the strings, tune it up, stretch the strings again, tune it up. will it play? And this guitar passes that test with flying colors. Again, that's not probably an accurate way to test the quality of a guitar, but you know, for someone who's buying a $90 guitar, not that I'm a virtuoso guitar player, but I do have some experience on guitar, and I like to settle in and play it. If this was a person who had no experience with guitar, the good news is it was ready to play out of the box to average taste, right? I mean, again, you might want to adjust the action to your taste, or the pickup height to your taste, or the relief on the neck to your taste. Keep in mind that the strings on this guitar are really not good, but still, considering that they're cheap strings, it's held tune, did its job. Overall, the fit and the finish on this guitar is really outstanding for the price point. There are a few cosmetic defects on it that are very minor. And again, I've seen worse on guitars that cost 2, 3, 4 times as much, so they get good credit for that. The fret ends, there's a little bit of sprout, but considering this guitar began its life in Vietnam, and who knows where it went, sailed the 7 seas, sat in a shipping container for who knows how long. As you saw, I'm actually shocked that it survived its trip in this very minimal packing, and yet it did. Yes, let's look at that minimal packing. I mean, that box just offers very little protection, a little bit of styrofoam in there, but it survived. So I don't know how many of these ended up getting kicked back to the seller because they didn't survive, but fortunately mine survived its journey, which its final part of its journey was from Kansas City, Missouri, up here to Montana, by way of FedEx, and FedEx took pretty good care of it because the box didn't show any damage at all. The pickups are adequate. They're, again, very generic, but you know, you have to start doing the math on this guitar, right? So if they're selling it for $112, you start breaking down what the labor cost to put this together, the cost of materials, wood, the hardware, the pickups. It's actually pretty amazing that it came out the way that it did. Again, I was hoping for a more subtle spalted maple top, but all things considered, I'm pretty satisfied with this. I mean, it's an interesting concept to put spalted maple veneer on the top of a guitar. You either like it or you don't. And you can see all kinds of interesting Rorschach test components to this. If you were to show this to someone and say, what do you see? There was one guy on the forum, the Squire Talk forum, who got one that, I mean, it clearly had a troll's face on it between the two pickups. You could see the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and everything. But this definitely has some interesting patterns going on. And again, the fit and the finish is really quite good, all things considered. I don't notice any high frets. The frets are a little bit gritty, again, to be expected on a guitar that's been sitting in a container. The back piece of wood looks like it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 pieces of wood, but they look nice. You know, I don't know what kind of wood it is. The back of the neck, I found with these inexpensive satin guitars, that the more you play it, the better the neck feels. Just the combination of the schmutz on the palm of your hand sort of grinding into it just sort of smooths it out and gives it a nice feel. So overall, I give this guitar really, really high marks. I'm just going to play it for a couple days, let it acclimate to its new environment before I even start smoothing out the fret ends. Who knows, maybe the fretboard will expand a little bit and the sprout will go away. I doubt it, just because it's cold up here and I have forced air heat, and that tends to do just the opposite, which is shrink it. Again, there was some discussion on whether this is actually, as advertised, a rosewood fretboard. I don't know what it is, but it looks nice, it feels nice. I know on my other IYV, the Mustang, when I put some oil on it, it just really just smoothed it right out, just gave it a nice feel, and it looks nice. But again, all things considered, I mean, there's a little bit of an imperfection on the binding in the F-hole. No big deal. There's a couple little dimples in the finish. But you really do have to look at it in consideration to what it cost and just overlook those things. And at the end of the day, playability is the key to this. And it plays really nice. And with the dual humbuckers, it's different than the other two thin lines I have. I have one that has the Paranormal Cabronita has sort of a pseudo, they call them Jazzmaster pickups, but most people agree that they're not really put together like a Jazzmaster pickup. They're more like a P90. And then I've got the 60s Squier Classic Vibe thin line that has the atypical Telecaster setup with the two single coils. And this sounds different than all those two. So, you know, cheap switch, rattles around, but it does what it's supposed to do. I don't know if these are metal or plastic, but they do what they're supposed to do. The output jack is actually surprisingly robust. Nice resistance when you put it in, a good click. Certainly better than some Squiers I've had. It's actually more robust than the Paranormal Cabronita is. So it gets high marks on that. And again, it's really quite amazing. The neck pocket here is a little, you know, it's tight and it feels good. A little bit of rubbing compound floating around, which one would expect. Again, I can't imagine that these get too much QC time, as they're just pumping them out. But overall, let us repeat what it is again. It is the IYV ITF-300 Tele Style HH semi-hollow body electric guitar, spalted maple. And again, there was some discussion on the earlier models of this that it was a photo finish. And everyone pretty much agrees that this has to be a veneer because each and every one is different. And it would really be quite a job to do a zillion photo finishes. There'd be no reason to. So everyone's pretty convinced that this is actually a veneer. It's probably paper thin, but be that as it may, one thing's for sure, no two of these are exactly alike. So if you want an individual guitar that has a footprint that is very particular to the guitar, this one can do the trick. Again, the camera never really gives us accurate color because the lighting is not however lighting works. This is much more of a natural look. The camera seems to give it more of a yellow tint, but it's more of a natural look. So anyways, I give it 2 thumbs up. Of course, I'm going to play it for the rest of the week and come back and give my after a week thoughts, and everything may come unglued. And my opinion may change, but I'm usually pretty spot on as far as my opinion goes, how I feel about a guitar after the first couple hours of playing it, and this one just really feels good. So we've got another guitar coming at the end of the week. It's actually a bass. We'll keep it a mystery as to what it is. It's supposed to be here on Friday, but there's some wild weather in the middle of the country, and it's coming all the way from Virginia, so who knows. This actually, considering the weather issues and the holiday issues, this was ordered on Thursday afternoon, and it left Kansas City Friday evening, I think, and made it up to Montana by Monday. And that's with FedEx taking all of Sunday off. It didn't move at all on Sunday. I think they grounded all their trucks, their cross-country trucks. So it made really good time. And I was really pleased and happy to see the FedEx guy show up today with his box under his arm. So thank you very much for joining us again. I know I always say it too many times, but I like to say it. Today is January the 2nd, 2023. We are in the early days of winter, but the days are slowly going to start getting longer, which is a beautiful thing that I always appreciate. So we'll be back at the end of the week. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. It is Friday evening. It is January the 6th, 2023. I've had this guitar now for 4 days. Usually I let a little more time go by before I come in and do the final comment section, but I've got 2 more guitars coming tomorrow, and I like to just sort of stay on top of these guitars so I'm not rushing them out. So here's my basic review of this guitar, and it comes with an asterisk. Because the guitar was so inexpensive, there's a lot that you could forgive a guitar that costs $97. You really don't have to forgive much on this guitar. There are a few tiny cosmetic blemishes that if the guitar costs $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, it might be a bigger deal. For $97, who cares? Other than that, it's actually an incredible value. It's a well put together guitar. It has a unique sound to it. Of course, the spalted maple top is a regular Rorschach test for you psychology fans. Each one is different, and because it has the book-matched veneer, you get the mirror image on both sides, so it really has that interesting dynamic. Some I like a lot. This one, I would give it out of 10, I would give it a 6 or a 7. I've seen some that I didn't like at all, so this one was actually a pleasant surprise for me. I think I mentioned it in the other video. The nicest part to me, I mean, this is interesting, but I really like up here. This is really pretty, the maple. It plays nice. I still have the original strings on it, which I'm sure it will go up about 3 or 4 notches. It's funny, I don't know if this is actually the center of the guitar where the strap button is, but it doesn't match where this comes together. So you would think technically that it would be there, but do I care? Again, I don't. Hardware, inexpensive, but works fine. Volume works, tone works. I really appreciate the output jack being this type, because if there's any issues, 2 screws, pull it out, deal with it. You don't have to deal with a typical Telecaster. Again, the fret ends, it either had fret sprout or they weren't finished as well as the IYV Mustang copy, so I just took a file and ground a little bit, and they're not custom shop standards by any matter, but they're playable now. They don't catch on your finger, so it works out fine. I probably mentioned everything I'm going to mention now in my previous video. The back of the guitar, nice color. Some people say theirs is red. Mine's certainly more brown. Looks more mahogany. They say it's a mahogany body. I'm sure it's a variation of mahogany. Some imported version of mahogany. And again, they say that the fretboard's rosewood. I have no idea if it is. It's dark. It looks fine. The company that was selling these en masse, I mean, they were selling hundreds of them, sold out 2 days ago. There's still a few floating around on eBay and on Reverb, but I don't think they're going for quite the price, although one guy I think had one for $94, and it had a really pretty top on it, so that might be worth investigating. They'll probably come out with these again, but they won't have the same headstock, because again, I believe that the reason why these were pulled off Amazon is because Fender put some pressure on IYV that their headstock was a little too close to the Fender headstock, so they've modified that. So overall, I give this guitar 2 thumbs up. I think when they were originally introduced, they were like $180. I would say it's a good value at $180. I mean, again, I've done nothing to this guitar other than a slight tweak of the truss rod and smoothed out the frets a little bit. In the coming weeks, I'm sure I will put new strings on it, play with the pickup heights, and again, dial in the amp a little better too. I just put it in a setting that I use for all my guitars, so I haven't really explored what this guitar can or might be able to do. But I don't remember the exact name of this. I think it's the IYV 300, blah, blah, blah. They have such convoluted names, I have no idea. But for a Thinline Telecaster style guitar with a very unusual top, plays nice, sounds good, feels good, it's a nice weight. I prefer lighter guitars, so I was on board with that. And yeah, I'm really quite pleased. The 2 guitars tomorrow, one will be a surprise. One will be very familiar, and the familiar one will be this. When I got this guitar, I did detect some cosmetic flaws, so I contacted the seller and said, you know, they're cosmetic. It's not that big a deal, but would you be willing to do a modest price adjustment? And they responded almost immediately and said, no, but we will refund your money and you can just keep the guitar. And I went, whoa, okay. So in an act of good faith, and because I wanted to try it out, and since this guitar cost me nothing, I ordered another one. So another one of these will be here tomorrow. And of the two, the one that looks the best, plays the best, sounds the best, I will keep it for a while. I'm sure I will immediately sell the other one because I don't need two of these guitars. And I'll make sure that someone gets a fair deal so that we can get this in the hands of someone else. So we will join you again tomorrow. Again, as I always do multiple times until your eyes are rolling in the back of your head. It is January the 6th, 2023. Beautiful early winter's afternoon. It is 4:45 Mountain Time. And there you go. The IYV blah 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 300 something 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 Telecaster style spalted maple top dual humbucker guitar. Thank you very much.